Recording. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our annual Krampus Wassail Solstice sing-along. I just made that.
No.
Usually this time of year, we have one of our Grove meetings where we tell stories and sing songs from our Grove Solstice song. So I will hand these out. And I also have put it in the files on the Facebook page, so.
It smells very festive. It's got a cinnamon smell.
Yeah, it's probably just next to a lot of stuff that was.
Next to the broom.
It was the brooms from, yeah, there was a broom, one of the brooms sitting on it.
Smells smoky too.
So we'll have song, story. And if you have anything that you would like to share, something about solstice gone by, that would be fine too. But I have a few things to do, and since Birch was sick tonight, she was going to finish the story about Thor and Mjolnir that she started last week, but she sent it to me, so we'll read it later. But I thought that we would begin with a song, and we'll just go through them. Now, these songs are
Kimmy, would you pass down?
yes,
You've got
you've got all, you passed
I'm so sorry.
you passed one and kept the rest.
Spirit of the giving, really? You think Christmas came early for you? I got all these papers. Thank you. My perfect gift.
That was, wow, I'm so sorry. It's all good. We got it now. I didn't even know.
No, they still.
Nope.
No, it's just that top one. Kimmy took the one.
Just the one that
Kimmy took the
smokes.
cinnamon one.
Yeah, oh well. I didn't, you know,
Smells like
yeah, faintly
smoke.
smoky. Yes, probably from last year.
Probably from last year,
Yeah,
around
or
by the
smoky.
fire.
Get this from Amsterdam, did you?
Okay, the first one is called Moon of Silver. And this is to, gosh, I don't even know the Christmas song that this is.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah, the Three Kings or something like that.
No.
no, this, it's the
Star
star of wonder. Star.
Yeah, that
So
one,
this
Star
goes-
Wonder, yeah.
Moon of silver, sun of gold, gentle lady, Lord so bold, guide us ever, never lead us in the ways of old. Mother, maiden mother, ancient crone, Queen of heaven on your throne. Praise we sing thee, love we bring thee, for all that you have shown. Lord of darkness, Lord of light, gentle brother, King of might. Praise we sing thee, love we bring thee on this solstice night. Oh, moon of silver, sun of gold, gentle lady, Lord so bold, guide us ever, fairly, never lead us in the ways of old. Don't start with that one because it's the hardest, so it's gonna get easier from now. That's a good one, right?
No,
I love the words to that.
It's ex-
Me neither. So we're all the same. All right, we'll all make each other sound good.
Ding dong ding.
Next, I'm going to read you a poem.
Oh,
'Twas the night before Yuletide.
that sounds familiar. I got another one after you finish that one.
'Twas the night before Yuletide, and all through the glen, not a creature was stirring, not a fox, not a hen. A mantle of snow shone brightly that night as it lay on the ground reflecting moonlight. The fairies were nestled all snug in their trees, unmindful of flurries and a chilly north breeze. The elves and the gnomes were down in their burrows, sleeping like babes in their soft earthen furrows. When lo, the earth moved with a thunderous quake, causing chairs to fall over and dishes to break. The little folks scrambled to get on their feet, then raced to the river where they usually meet. What happened, they wondered. They questioned, they probed, as they shivered in night clothes, some bare armed, some robed. What caused the earth shudder? What caused her to shiver? They all spoke at once as they stood by the river. Then what to their wondering eyes should appear but a shiny gold light in the shape of a sphere? It blinked and it twinkled, it winked like an eye, then it flew straight up and was lost in the sky. Before they could murmur, before they could bustle, there emerged from the crowd with a swish and a rustle, a stately old crone with her hand on a cane, resplendent in green with a flowing white mane. As she passed by them, the old crone's perfume, smelling of meadows and flowers of bloom, made each one of the fay folk think of the spring, when the earth wakes from slumber and the birds start to sing. My name is Gaia, the old crone proclaimed, in a voice that at once was both wild and tamed. I've come to remind you, for you seem to forget, that Yule is the time of rebirth, and yet I see no hearth fires, hear no music, no bells. The air isn't filled with rich, fragrant smells of baking and roasting and simmering stews, of cider that's mulled or other hot brews. There aren't any children at play in the snow, or houses lit up by candles glow. Have you forgotten, my children, the fun of celebrating the rebirth of the sun? She looked at the fay folk, her eyes going round as they shuffled their feet and stared at the ground. Then she smiled the smile that brings light to the day. Come, my children, she said, let's play. They gathered the mistletoe, gathered the holly, threw off the drab and drew on the jolly. They lit a big bonfire and they danced and they sang. They brought out the bells and clapped when they rang. They strung lights on the trees and bows, oh so merry, in colors of cranberry, bayberry, cherry. They built giant snowmen and adorned them with hats, then surrounded them with snowbirds and snow cats and bats. Then just before dawn, at the end of their feast, before they went homeward to seek out their rest, the fay folk they gathered round their favorite oak tree and welcomed the sun neath the tree's finery. They were just reaching home when it suddenly came. The gold light returned like an arrow shot flame. It lit on the treetop where they could see from afar the golden-like sphere turned into a star. And the old crone just smiled at the beautiful sight. Happy Yuletide, my children, she whispered. Good night.
That's a beautiful poem. Can you post that?
I will.
I'd love to share that with
Is,
some.
that should already be posted.
What's that?
Should already be posted.
Oh, okay.
I was the one who, yeah. So
That's-
I have one, whenever we're ready.
Go ahead, sure.
The guardians of winter's lore, okay? In the heart of a realm where the winter never fades, there stood a knight unlike any other, known to all as Santa, the guardian of winter's lore, clad in armor as intricate as frost patterns on a window pane. He watched over the land with a wisdom as ancient as the stars, twinkling above. His companion was a dragon of grandeur, its scales shimmering like a tapestry of ice, a living embodiment of winter's might. Together, they protected the secrets of the season, the magic of giving, and the joy that blanketed the world like the snow underfoot. As the longest night of the year enveloped the land, Santa prepared for a sacred quest. Could that be? Well, with a sword forged from the very essence of winter's chill and gifts imbued with heartfelt wishes, he set out to sprinkle a touch of magic across the realms. The dragon roared a thunderous farewell, its breath a cascade of sparkling frost as Santa journeyed forth. Each gift left under the canopy of night was a promise, a reminder of warmth in the coldest of the guardian winter's lore. Okay, so and let's see.
Oh.
You scared the cat.
Not too many people.
So,
Like,
No.
so together they protected the secrets of the season, the magic of giving, and the joy that blanketed the world like the snow underfoot. Okay, so let's see. So the dragon roared a thunderous farewell, its breath a cascade of sparkling frost as Santa journeyed forth. Let's see, whatever. And so the legend grew on the eve of each winter solstice. Children would gaze out into the starry night, hoping for a glimpse of the guardian and his dragon, knowing that with their passing, the spirit of winter's lore was kept alive, its mysteries forever woven into the fabric of the season.
Nice. Another song. Yeah, let's do that. Let's deck the halls. This is almost right the way it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us, la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide's treasure, la 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 la. Cast away the old year passes, la 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 la. Hail the new year, lads and lasses, la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together, la 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather, la 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 la. The Legend of La Befana, the Witch of Christmas. The figure of Bobo Natal, Father Christmas, with a red hat and suit, white beard, bag full of presents, sleigh with reindeers, is famous all over the world. But in Italy, children eagerly wait for a visit from another figure known as La Befana. An old shabby lady, but good-hearted and hard-working, loved so much by the children, as a woman also known as the Italian Christmas witch. La Befana is a very friendly and amiable Italian witch who rides around on a broomstick. She often smiles and carries a sack full of candies and gifts. La Befana brings presents to the good children on the morning of the Epiphany, January 6th. La Befana's legend is about 3 wise men that came to La Befana's house to ask her if she knew the way to Bethlehem. They asked her to accompany them, but she refused. She stayed at home to finish the cleaning and promised that she would catch up with them. But by the time she finished her cleaning, they had gone too far away. So she began running after them with the presents for the baby, still carrying the broom in her hand. As she ran, she wished so hard to get there in time that the magic took over and the broomstick flew. And she flew to give presents, to deliver the gifts. In Italy, the Epiphany is bigger than Christmas. It is also a public holiday. People neither work, children do not go to school. It is said that animals can speak that day and tell people what they really think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to listen very closely because we're gonna be honoring Abelina on the eve of the Epiphany in the Grove.
Yes.
So maybe she will speak to us that day. In some regions, people make a bonfire with a figure of La Befana on top. And in Venice, men dressed like La Befana have boat racing on the Grand Canal. In the region of Tuscany, from early in the morning, the horns are sounding, the drums fill the air, and people are marching up and down the streets all day. Even though she is less famous outside Italy than Santa Claus, this Italian witch is a well-known figure in Italian culture. She is a Christmas witch for them, and they eagerly wait for her every year. There's a little picture over there.
Oh.
Ah.
Nice.
Yes, I remember in high school when I took Italian class, my teacher who grew up in Italy, was born and raised in Italy, would tell us that Christmas was a very religious holiday. You went to church and you had a dinner, but the fun happened on the 6th, and that's because that's the timeline of when the wise men got with their gifts.
Mhm.
So that's when everybody gets gifts and you leave your shoes out for La Befana.
Mhm. A lot of religions, Christian religions, find the Epiphany more relative
Right,
than the actual Christmas day.
exactly.
It was, but the Epiphany, was it the acknowledgement of, oh, well, he's coming, kind of thing, is that what the Epiphany was again?
Then they found him.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's when they finally got to the manger.
They followed the star. He was already born.
I like to always try to point out that in a lot of, not colloquial, but a lot of Old English, it's the 3 wise men, and Old English would be like a wise man, wise woman, wicked, so there were 3 witches who
Well,
were,
they
yeah,
were astrologers.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were astrologers. They were following a star. They were
Yeah.
following the signs that there was going to be
Mhm.
an event. There was
Yeah.
going to be a special birth.
Mhm.
And so that found him.
Next, yeah.
But in the Italian culture, they added that they stopped for directions at the town. No. But I like that the need was so great. She was running and she still had her broom in her hand because she had just finished her cleaning, because you're not gonna leave halfway through the cleaning.
Yeah.
So she's running with the gifts under one arm and the broom in the other, and then she just took off flying.
I guess my other question is,
She had to be there.
in a lot of other things that some stories attribute them to actually being rulers or kings or something. 3 kings or what?
Kings.
We
They were
were
astrologers or
kings. We
kings.
were
Because
Yeah,
I think in some stories they were like
that's why they have.
astrologers who worked for a king, and other ones they were kings outright. I think some of the stories.
Well, they were,
Really?
I think they were both.
Yeah, yeah,
Astrology-
It's supposed to be rich
astrology
and powerful, no matter which.
That's- yeah, that's- I think-
Yeah,
It's supposed to be rich
it
and
depends on who's
powerful.
watching, you know, it's perspectives on either end, so.
Right, well, the idea of kings would be important people.
Right.
What's the next song? Oh, how
Uh,
fitting, Rest Ye Merry Pagan Folk.
I was like, I was.
Especially after a hard day.
The last time I heard. So.
Have fun. Squinty time.
Congrats.
Squinty time.
Not yet.
By the Flintstones.
It's not yet.
I'm sure when we start singing, you'll wake up.
God rest ye merry pagan folk, let nothing you dismay. Remember that the sun returns upon this solstice day. That growing darkens, ending night, and spring is on its way. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. The goddess rest ye merry too, and keep you safe from harm. Remember that we live within the circle of her arms, and may her love give years to come a very special charm. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
I postulate a thought that
Sure.
the Grove get back to choruses and practice. I kind of like to,
To have a grove chorus.
yeah, like we would. do
We should
something.
sing more, we're very good.
That's what I'm saying. I think the practice for one, I'm just go out caroling.
So maybe I should put more of these songbooks together for other
Events,
times of years.
Yes, we
Yeah.
like Old Sorrows.
Sure, give me something else to do.
I was gonna jump on that, okay?
Go, you make the next one.
I will.
You make the Grove's Everyday Songbook.
Oh, right. that's
Right?
it.
Interesting.
Interesting songs that they're not any particular time, they're just pagan.
I can do that.
Okay.
I delegated.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you. All right,
Got
see,
expertise.
let's see what Bert had to share with us here. So can't seem to get this to like go this way so that I can make it, things bigger.
Do you have it locked?
No, I don't. Sometimes. Anyway, so I'll persevere. So this story was about the journey that Thor and Loki decided to travel to Midgard. And the next morning they took this hammer and raised it, blessing the goat skins. The goats came back. But one of the goats had a broken leg because Loki had told one of the boys, you know,
What a marrow and the.
yeah,
Right, you're allowed to eat
you're
the marrow.
allowed to eat the marrow. So, leaving the chariot and goats behind, the 4 travelers, poor Loki, Jafli, and Rusgufa, left on foot towards Utgard, coming to the sea separating Midgard from Utgard. The travelers found a boat which they used to cross to the other side. They continued on foot through the forest until evening. Jalfi, the fastest of runners, went in advance of the other 3, searching for lodgings, but none could be found. Together they came to a curious hall. The entrance was as wide and as tall as the entire building. Inside it was so dark and the hall so large that they could not see the far end of the hall. Nevertheless, they decided to take shelter there for the night. At midnight, the travelers were startled awake by an earthquake and by groaning and rumbling noises from the outside. They withdrew further into the hall, finding that the hall split into a large room off to one side and 4 smaller rooms continuing straight ahead. Poor stood guard at the entrance to the largest of the 5 rooms, while the others spent the night at the far end of the room in fear. In the morning, Poor, gripping Molnir, left the hall to find a giant sleeping on the ground nearby. His snores were the cause of the shaking and the horrible noises they had heard the night before. The giant, awakening, stood up, for once Poor was afraid to strike with his hammer. The giant introduced himself as Skrymir, a dwarf among the giants. He picked up his glove from the ground. I'm saying Poor because of the symbol, but it's Thor. Then realized that they had mistaken the glove for a building. Oh, 4 rooms,
Mhm.
1 giant room.
Mhm.
The 5 agreed to travel together. They ate separate breakfasts. Afterwards, Screamer suggested that they share their provisions and offered to take their pack and carry it within his own. The 5 walked all the next day. Even Jaffe, the fastest of the travelers, could not keep up with Skrymir, but they could hear his crashing as he passed through the forest ahead, so they did not lose him. That evening found the 5 in an oak grove. Skrymir decided to lay down and go directly to sleep, but invited the other 4 to help themselves to food in his pack. Thor worked on the straps, but no matter what he did, he could not untie them. Thor's anger grew as he realized that Skrymir had not meant for them to eat from his pack. Taking up Mjolnir, Thor stepped over to where Skrymir lay sleeping and smashed the giant's head with a hammer. The giant sat up and asked, "Has a leaf fallen on my head? Have you eaten yet?" Thor replied that they were about to turn in and found another oak under which to lie, far from the giant. None of the 4 could sleep for fear and hunger, and Thor was anxious. This was the first time that the hammer had ever failed him. At midnight, the giant began snoring, shaking the ground and the trees all around. Thor rose again and, taking Mjolnir, slammed the hammer down into the middle of the giant's head. Thor could feel the hammer sink into the giant's brain. Skrymir sat up saying, "What was that? Did an acorn fall on my head? And what are you doing over here?" Thor said he had been awoken too, as he backed away to join his companions. He vowed to himself that the next time he'd use Mjolnir with enough force to send the giant to the depths of Niflheim. Just before dawn, Thor could hear that Skrymir was once again fast asleep. He ran up to the giant and swung with all his might, crashing the hammer into the giant's head and burying the hammer up to the handle in the giant's brain. Skrymir sat up, rubbing his cheek. "Are there birds up in that tree? I thought I felt some droppings fall on me. Are you awake, Thor? It must be time to get up." Thor was dumbstruck. As the 5 prepared to start their journey for the day, Skrymir told them that they were near the stronghold of the giant king, Utgarda Loki to the east. The giant said that he planned to continue to the north so that he would part company here. Before leaving, he advised the four, keep your pride for your own kind and keep your mouths shut. Utgarda Loki's men won't stand for bragging from babies like you. Thor seethed at the insult, unable to do anything about it. Continuing, the giant said, I'd advise you to turn around and go home. And without a nod or friendly word, Skrymir departed and walked away to the north. All morning, the four travelers walked east. Eventually, they came to a massive stronghold. The walls were so high that they had to throw their heads back to their spines in order to be able to see the top. The gates were locked and unattended, but they were able to slip through them and enter the great hall of the stronghold. Giants of all ages lounged on the two benches. Thor and his companions made their way to the giant king, Utgarda Loki, and courteously greeted him. The giant king slowly turned towards them, baring his teeth in a smile. Am I mistaken in thinking that this little fellow is Thor, the charioteer? Maybe you're stronger than you look. In what skill do you excel? We never allow anyone to stay unless he is a master of some craft or pastime. Loki stepped forward. No one can eat faster than I. Utgarda Loki called for the giant Logi to step forward to meet the challenge. Servants brought in the treasure and loaded it with meat. Loki sat down at one end and Loki at the other. At a signal from the king, they both began eating, meeting in the middle. While Loki had eaten all the meat, Loki had eaten the meat, the bones, and the trencher. He was declared the winner. Utgard Loki asked Jaffe what he could do. Jaffe volunteered to run a race against anyone in the hall. The company moved outside where a good course over level ground was laid out. 3 times the giant Yugi ran against Jaffe. 3 times Yugi beat Jaffe by wide margins. In the final race, Yugi was at the finish before Jaffe reached the halfway mark. Yugi was declared the winner. Utgarda Loki turned to Thor and asked him which of his skills he would demonstrate. Having heard great boasts of Thor's exploits, ignoring the insults, Thor said that he could drink more than anyone in the hall. Immediately, a drinking horn was placed in Thor's hands. The giant king said that the good drinker could drain it in 1 swallow. Some might take 2, but no one was so feeble that he couldn't finish it in 3. Thor took 3 enormous swallows, each larger than the last. Each time, the level in the horn dropped, but never did the horn empty. Ignoring the taunting invitations to take yet another draft, Thor returned the horn to Utgard Loki. The giant said, it's clear your might is not as great as we thought. Would you like to try your hand at another contest? Young giants performed the feat of lifting my cat off the ground. I wouldn't have suggested it unless I had seen that you're a much less impressive person than I thought. A cat jumped out from under the giant king's chair and planted itself on the floor. Thor put his arm under the cat's belly and lifted. The cat simply arched its back, such as its forefeet stayed on the ground. The giants laughed at the way the cat's effortless movements frustrated Thor. At last, Thor was able to lift the cat so high that one of its paws left the floor. As I thought, said Utgarda Loki, Thor is short and small in comparison to the mighty men here in the hall. Thor, beside himself with his failures and the taunts and abuse, spoke, "Small as you say I am, just let someone come out and fight me. Now I am angry." Utgarda Loki, looking around the room, replied, "I doubt anyone would wrestle you. They feel it's beneath them." Then continuing, the great king explained, "Find Eli, my old wet nurse. And Thor can wrestle her if he likes." The giants laughed as a horrible old crone entered the hall. She agreed to wrestle Thor. He threw himself at the woman, but she was stronger than she seemed. She stood firm and unshaken. Then she tried a hold or two on Thor, catching him off balance. She forced him to one knee. "Enough," cried Utgarda Loki to Thor. "You've shown your true strength. There is no point in Thor's challenging anyone else in this hall." So oops. Reason why Thor couldn't match the old woman is that she was actually old age. And no one, not even Thor, can win against old age. Be it.
The cat was the
Yeah, you tell me, what is the cat?
the cat was the Midgard serpent, and everybody was cringing because they actually thought with the Midgard serpent, like, wow, it's just coming up from everyone was freaking out because it was actually lifted up, and they thought the entire was gonna happen. Let's see, the one
horn was the ocean.
the horn was the world ocean, and it was connected, and so that was the one that they also freaked out because they saw the actual ocean like really take a dip, and they're like, wow, that happened.
Put a dent in it.
Put a dent in it. The fast one, the jumper, well, that was Thought. And so who could beat Thought? The fact that he did that, right? Loki was against Wildfire. And it was another one that was this one. There was that. It was
The moral of this story is don't take a contest from anybody named Utgarda Loki.
yeah. Oh, when
The
they
Loki part should give it away.
That's what I.
yeah, he actually was like a sorcerer. He moved slightly when the hammer was hidden all 3 times, and then right when everything was exposed, he was like, "How dare you? I'm gonna get you!" And that's when the entire everything disappeared. So it's like they all made a mockery of him. Like, okay, yeah, that was not fun.
So he did all right.
Right.
I'm sure that Birch could tell the story much better than I. But I knew that there was the tricks to it.
Yeah,
I knew there was
yeah.
tricks to it as I was reading it. I was like, there's tricks to these, and Panda would know
I would.
that. All right, next song.
Next song.
We wish you a merry solstice. We wish you a merry solstice. We wish you a merry solstice and a happy new year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a merry solstice and a happy new year. Now bring us some figgy pudding. Now bring us some figgy pudding. Now bring us some figgy pudding and a cup of good cheer. We wish you a merry solstice. We wish you a merry solstice. We wish you a merry solstice and a happy new year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a merry solstice and a happy new year. Now bring us the filled up mead horn. We all like a filled up mead horn. We all like a filled up mead horn. So bring one out here. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a merry solstice and a happy new year. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. So bring some out here. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a merry solstice and a happy new year.
That song was weird. I've always felt that way. And that last
Very
verse.
demanding.
Thank you. We won't go until we get some.
Well, this was the tradition of wassailing from house to house and from orchard to orchard because they needed to bless the spirits of the trees so that they would have apples and pears for the next year, because they made the wassail out of apples and pears. So the carolers would go, and then this was the Mari Lou, and they would knock on the door, they would demand a tithe. So the household would gladly give what they had left so that they would have more the next year. So that's why they were demanding.
Isn't that also the time when they chose like a king for the day out of the jesters, out of the poorest person there who would
Yeah.
flip the places, and he would essentially create his own little entourage, and they would be like going out to the houses and demanding, hey, you better be nice, it's Christmas, I'm the king for the day. And if they didn't show up, we're not gonna leave. And then if they didn't get it, they would like throw stuff at their,
It's kind of like a trick or treat.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, there was that.
Yeah, yeah, trick or treat. You give us a treat or.
We won't go until we get some. Maybe that was,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna stay. Stay in your yard. Does anybody have anything else to share? Do you have any stories? I have one more. Wait, I have to get the costume.
Always good.
Costume. Not complaining.
There'll be a great musical interview.
Name the next song.
Oh,
Vegas sing, are you listening?
All
you said, candles listening. It's a magical night, we're having tonight, dancing in a wicked wonderland. Wait till dawn, senses smoking, God be God, this is we're invoking. Through and sound, we celebrate life, dancing in a winter wonderland.
in the circle
We can light your fire and await the rising of the sun. It's the great returning for the new year, loaded with abundance and great fun. Later on by the fire, we reflect our desire to keep and portray the old pagan ways, dancing in a winter wonderland. To old pagan ways for the rest of our days, dancing in a wicked wonderland. Like
The Kyliak appears primarily as a veiled old woman, sometimes with only one eye. Her skin was deathly pale or blue, while her teeth were red, and her clothes adorned with skulls. She could leap across the mountains and ride storms. In the Manx tradition, the Kyliak was a shapeshifter capable of transforming into a giant bird. The Veiled One was a creator deity that shaped much of the known landscape. Whether she did so intentionally remained unclear. Her tools of creation and destruction included her hammer, with which she was able to control storms and thunder. In some legends, she also controlled a well that would occasionally overflow and flood the land. The Kyliak was neither fully good nor fully evil. Her intentions varied from tale to tale. Through her association with storms and thunder, she was a natural and wild destructive force. Despite this, she also cared deeply for animals, both wild and domestic, during the dark winter months. In all three Gaelic-speaking regions, she was the patron of wolves, emboldened by winter hunger. In Scotland, she also served as a deer herder. The Kyliak was both ageless and immortal. As winter gave way to spring, she would take a drought that returned her to her youth. In Manx legend, she spent half the year as a young woman and the other half as an old crone. She was only known as the Kyliak during the later half. In Ireland, she had 7 periods of youth, after which she remained old permanently. The seasonal division between summer and winter, where the Kyliak ruled winter and Bridget ruled summer, highlighted the association of the two goddesses. On Samhain, the Celtic year ends and winter begins, marking the return of the Kyliak. In Scotland and the Isle of Man, the Kyliak transforms into Bridget during Beltane. The Kyliak was also a goddess of grain, a key resource in surviving winter. The last sheaf of grain harvested was dedicated to her and used to begin the next planting season. Like many Irish goddesses, the Kyliak was linked to sovereignty and rulership. Before anyone could rule the land, they had to first garner her approval. It was just me all the time. Don't be scared.
I like that. I was thinking of the correlation between Persephone and her. And there is little known stories with for some reason the Greeks tended to have women's mysteries just taught daughters to daughters kind of thing. It was weird, but there is stories about how everyone knows, oh, Persephone in the story kind of thing, how when the dead, but when she went back to her mother, what is, from what I understand, often shared only in the women's mysteries that a mother will share with her daughter, is that there is a special lake or river that specifically is designed to restore her to her original maiden form, in which case, and as soon as she goes up and or before she's returning to her mother to begin that phase, she would take a full bath to restore her maiden form, in which case she'd be known, I believe, as Kore, which would be like the original maiden name. And then she would age and then turn into Persephone, and the whole cycle would be going on.
Lots of cultures have that, where the springtime is the maiden.
Yeah.
And then winter is the crop.
Mhm,
With a little bit of mother in there,
mhm.
just so we can get the crops.
Yeah.
Very good. Good. All right. Oh, here's the Wassail song. Let me take a drink. Get my punch. Oh, here we come a wassailing along the leaves so green. Here we come a wandering so fair to be seen. Peace and joy come to you, and to you I'll wassail too. God is bless you and send you a happy new year. God is send you a happy new year. Our wassail cup is made from the rosemary tree, and so is your fine beer of the very best barley.
Peace and joy come to you, and to you a wassail too. God has blessed you and sent you a happy new year. God has sent you a happy new year. We are not the daily beggars that beg from door to door. We are your neighbors, children that you have seen before. Peace and joy come to you, and to you a wassail too. God has blessed you and sent you a happy new year. God has sent you a happy new year.
You gotta have a couple of drinks before you can sing that one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see, what do we got left?
All right, so what's wrong with you? I was waiting for somebody.
the favorite. Yeah, this is the favorite.
My favorite part.
Always a hit.
Sorry, I was a bit. Bonus the Roman God had a very rigid brick. And if you ever saw it, you would say it's quite a trick. All of the other deities used to live rejectedly. They always wanted phonics to join in the revelry. Then one fell sleep Saturnalia, Juno gave this call. Phonics, since you're hung so well, won't you ring my solstice bell? Then all the others pouted as they murmured jealously. Phonics, the Roman god, better save a turn for me.
That was just fun.
That's what an office party was, an office party.
Right? Yeah, HR got involved.
HR was usually the one singing that song.
Before people had cameras.
Before laws were made.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
So I saw some controversy on Facebook, imagine that? That, that Christmas trees are a Christian thing. They were not appropriated from pagans. And what they meant was the modern Christmas tree started in Victorian times because Queen Victoria's love interest, Frederick, what's his name? German. And so he brought the pagan tradition of bringing evergreens into the house, but then they dolled it up in Victorian style with silver and gold and stuff like that. So I'm thinking, both sides of that argument is just looking for the drama. Just looking for the drama, because the Romans, and I, honest, the Roman god is any judge. They were
He is hung
bringing,
so well.
they were bringing vows into the house in ancient Rome.
Yeah.
If you're gonna decorate your house in the middle of winter, you're gonna use what's still alive. Right?
Yeah.
So that's why the evergreen became a symbol of the everlasting love, light.
Evergreen is
I think the current incarnation of a Christmas tree is a
Right,
Christian thing.
yes,
Right.
The current incarnation, but not the original.
not the original,
I
right,
I would say that it's an interesting thing, right? So I can see how a lot of them would think that, but it's, so if we're talking strictly still pagan event, more than likely not. It's become like a hodgepodge of like a holiday thing. The last survey done to say, when you think of Christmas or the holidays, whatever you want to call it during this time, what's the first thing you think of? Religious and Jesus actually came up like fourth or fifth.
Right.
The first one was
Santa Claus and present.
So it's a matter of, well, that's the original thing, and yes, it came from us originally, but how it's evolved kind of thing is like, okay, you guys are reaching, there was nothing Christian about it. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, it was actually outlawed and illegal to be celebrating
somebody
Christmas.
like the Puritans.
Yeah, well, a lot of Christians don't realize. They think they started and originated everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
They-
2000, nobody did anything. Or 2,000 years ago.
They are.
The world didn't even exist by then.
What's that Facebook meme?
So I sing without any apology, "Oh Yuletide tree." Let's do it.
Yes, you should. With defiance.
With defiance.
Been defined.
Oh
Yuletide tree, oh Yuletide tree, how lovely are your branches. Oh Yuletide tree, oh Yuletide tree, how lovely are your branches. The thought of you that you draws near brings joyful tidings of good cheer. Oh Yuletide tree, oh Yuletide tree, how lovely are your branches. Oh Yuletide tree, oh Yuletide tree, evergreen and fragrant. Oh Yuletide tree, oh Yuletide tree, evergreen and fragrant. We bring you in our home to be a sign of life's eternity. Oh Yuletide tree, oh Yuletide tree, evergreen and fragrant. Oh Yuletide tree, oh Yuletide tree, we thank you for your blessings. Oh Yuletide tree, oh Yuletide tree, we thank you for your blessings. With golden stars and twinkling lights, you cheer us on this holy night. Oh Yuletide tree, oh Yuletide tree, we thank you for your blessings.
That was somebody cutting down the tree.
I wasn't talking to you on the phone. Parking calling me.
Does anybody have anything more to add before we sing the last two songs?
No.
Just about lost my voice.
Yeah.
Good.
Quick
Go ahead.
query. How many of us here in the Grove and how many online who own fur baby cats have actually put up stockings for their fur babies?
I put up for a bird.
When I did stockings, everybody got a stocking.
My bird has one. It actually has a peon.
Oh,
And he fits in it, so it's kind of cute.
We don't have anybody online, so.
Oh,
go.
She
Maybe get
left
stopped.
when she didn't, when we started singing.
Gee, I didn't know it was that bad.
Well, okay.
Okay.
Well, those of us closest to the microphone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a good thing that we're
Sorry,
all
Leah.
here then.
Well,
We're
sorry.
getting better.
We're getting better. I should have taken lessons before we did this.
who are you? They're so wise in the ways of science.
Okay.
I know I should sing it.
Silent night, solstice night, all is calm, all is bright. Nature's slumbers in forest and glad. Till in springtime she wakes again. Sleeping spirits grow strong. Sleeping spirits grow strong. Silent night, solstice night, silver moon, shining bright. So the blanket is the slumbering curd. Yuletide comes the sun's rebirth. Hark the lights reborn. Hark the lights reborn. Silent night, solstice night, quiet rest till the light
Turning ever rolling wheel. Bring the winter to comfort and heal. Rest your spirit in peace. Rest your spirit.
That's a nice one. So our last one is actually written by Carl, the drum guy. He was making this up as he was taking the tree outside one year, wasn't he? What's he here, possum? What-
Something like that.
I don't know, what made you write this song, but let's give it a try. On the first day of Yule, it was to be a blossom in my Yule tree. On the second day of Yule, it was to be two squirrels nesting in a blossom in my Yule tree. On the third day of Yule, it was to be three cats scratching, two squirrels nesting in a blossom in my Yule tree. On the first day of Yule, it was to be four feathers flying, three cats scratching, two squirrels nesting, and a possum in a Yule tree. On the fifth day of Yule, it was to be five horns of meat. Four feathers flying, three cats scratching, two squirrels nesting, and a possum in a Yule tree. On the sixth day of Yule, it was to be six, seven smoking, five horns of meat. Four feathers flying, three cats scratching, two squirrels nesting, and a possum in a Yule tree. On the seventh day of Yule, it was to be seven falcons flying, six salmon smoking, five horns of meat. Four feathers flying, three cats scratching, two squirrels nesting, and a possum in a Yule tree. On the eighth day of Yule, it was to be eight heroes singing, seven valkyries flying, six salmon smoking, five horns of meat. Four banners flying, three cats scratching, two squirrels nesting, and a possum in my Yule tree. On the ninth day of Yule, it was to be five boys grasping, eight heroes singing, seven valkyries flying, six salmon smoking, five horns of meat. Four banners flying, three cats scratching, two squirrels nesting, and a possum in my Yule tree. On the 10th day of Yule, it was to be 10 tribes of Viking, 9 vulgar cackling, 8 heroes singing, 7 vultures flying, 6 salmon smoking, 5 horns of meat. 4 banners flying, 3 cats scratching, 2 squirrels nesting, and a possum in my Yule tree. On the 11th day of Yule, it was to be sing their fleeing, 10 tribes of Viking, 9 vulgar cackling, 8 heroes singing, 7 vultures flying, 6 salmon smoking, 5 horns of meat. 4 banners flying, 3 cats scratching, 2 squirrels nesting, and a possum in my Yule tree. On the 12th day of Yule, it was to be a vision of my ancestors in Valhalla, singing their fleeting, 10 tribes of Viking, 9 vulgar cackling, 8 heroes singing, 7 valkyries flying, 6 salmon smoking, 5 horns of meat.
4 banners flying, 3 cats are scratching, 2 squirrels nesting, and a possum in my old tree.
Good night, everybody.
Everybody,
Happy answer.
and a very merry new year.
Yes.
You may stop the recording.
How do you really recorded this? Oh, my word.